Although this next section is less than a page, there's a very important statistical measure in 4.8, and it is the coefficient of variation. Or you may see it abbreviated capital C, capital V. Okay? And the coefficient of variation, and I'll write that down again in just a second, but it is another statistical measure that compares the variation in data sets. All right. For population data, the coefficient of variation is equal to the sample standard deviation divided by the mean times 100. And that'll give you a percentage. Well, I said that's S over X bar. I said for population data. For population, it would be sigma over mu times 100. Sorry. For sample, it would be S over X bar times 100. All right. Your book goes on to say that when comparing the variation of data sets, many times the units of measure will be different. The coefficient of variation standardizes the variation measure by dividing it by the mean. The division has one interesting side effect. The unit of measure is removed from the statistic. So those same sets of data that we were looking at, if you take the standard deviation of out of state, I'm just going to put CV sub out for out of state, and you take the standard deviation, it was 28, 15, 23, and you divide that by 86, 43, 47. So this is standard deviation divided by the mean, and say that times 100, and you get 32.6. Alright, if you were to do the same thing with the private school data, I know this is just number crunching. All this has been figured out for you, but we say 5,398.54 divided by 13,506.99 times 100, and you should get 40.0. Lastly, if we take the data from the end state, then we would have 1205.08, and this all comes from that table, 4.1, getting all that data and breaking it up into subsets, and then taking that data, figuring out standard deviations, figuring out mean. We divide that by 2891.95 times 100, we should get 41.7. So you see the coefficient of variation for the out-of-state tuition is 32.6. This means that the variation is 32.6% of the mean. The variation is 32.6% of the mean. The group with the largest variation relative to the mean is the in-state tuitions, right? Their variation is 41.7% of the mean. All right, and so it's just another way to compare sets of data, the coefficient of variation, by taking out the units. But since you divide by the mean, it takes out the units, and it gives, and you say it times 100, and it gives us this percentage where we can compare the sets of data.